All right, again, welcome everyone to today's presentation, hosted by Marcum Technology, Sage Intacct 2023 R1, What You Should Know. So glad you're able to join us today. My name is Erin Crowley, and I'm in the marketing department here at Marcum, and I will be your host for today's session. Before we get started, just have a few housekeeping items to cover. Marcum LLP and Marcum Technology LLC have prepared these materials as part of an educational program. The information contained herein is of a general nature and is not intended to address the circumstances of any particular individual, entity, or case. While every effort has been made to offer current and accurate information, errors can occur. Furthermore, laws and regulations referred to in this program may change over time and should be interpreted only in light of particular circumstances. The information presented here should not be construed as legal, tax, accounting, or valuation advice. No one should act on such information without appropriate professional advice after a thorough examination of the particular situation. During today's program, you can submit questions to our presenters using the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom platform. They will get to as many questions as they can at the end of the webinar. We will email a copy of the slides and a link to the recording to all attendees post-event. And if you would like to receive continuing professional education credits for CPAs for attending today's session, you'll need to be active in the Zoom platform for a minimum of 50 minutes and answer 3 of the 4 polling questions that will appear on your screen at random points during the presentation. Each poll will be active for about 1 minute. There are no right or wrong answers, but be sure to select an answer and click submit for tracking purposes. And now I will pass it over to Buu-Linh Tran, Vice President of Financial Solutions at Marcum Technology.
Thank you, Erin, and welcome everyone to today's presentation. My name is Buu-Linh Tran. Today, I think we have a very exciting presentation. It is on Sage Intacct 2023 R1 release. We do this 4 times a year because Sage provides 4 releases a year. Just a quick background. I'm a VP in our financial solutions practice at Marcum Technology. I have over 25 years experience working with ERP solutions. Most of my career has been in nonprofit. And with me here today is Jitesh. Jitesh, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, it's Jitesh Magnani. I'm part of the business financial solution group here. I'm a business solution specialist and implementing Sage Intacct for 3 years with Buu-Linh, and I'm looking forward to presenting our presentation for you today.
Great. Next slide, please. So today's learning objectives are identify core new features in Sage Intacct 2023 R1, demonstrate some of the new features with Sage Intacct that are part of the R1 release, review the benefits of the new functionality. Now, the R1 release, there are a lot of functionality that is packed into this release. Given the short period of time that we have, we identify some of the really what we consider important, really key features that our users should know. Users of Sage Intacct should be aware of. And so I just wanted to mention that we'll be focused on really 2 big areas. One on accounts payable automation, and then the other one is on enhanced list view. I think both are major features that are part of this release. And then regarding the AP automation has been part of Sage Intacct release even prior to this, but this release, I think, really covers sort of from soup to nut, whereas previous releases has enabled workflow functionality, but in this release they've added features on the front end of it, which we will go over in details with this presentation. Next slide, please. Next slide. So just a quick intro as to who we are, Marcum Technology. Marcum Technology is the technology arm of Marcum, which is the Marcum LLP is a CPA firm. As you can see here, Marcum does support a number of industries that are listed here. Next slide, please. Within Marcum Technology, we have 5 pillars of services here. Digital consulting, where we provide financial ERP solutions to support our clients. We have 4 ERP solutions, 2 of which are cloud-based SaaS solutions, and they are Sage Intacct and Acumatica. We also support 2 Microsoft ERP solutions, and they are Dynamics GP, which is Great Plains, and Dynamics SL. In addition to the ERP, we also support a number of FP&A solutions, and they include Planful and Vena. And then the other pillars of services include strategic consulting for clients that need assessments of their back office accounting operations and IT assessments as well. Cloud and infrastructure solutions where we provide private cloud services, infrastructure support, and disaster recovery. Managed IT services where clients can outsource their IT, back office IT support to Marcum Tech. It's one of the services that we provide. And finally, cybersecurity, where we help our clients secure their business. Next slide, please.
Great.
So, Jitesh.
Yes. The first polling question for today is, we want to find out from you, how much time does your current process or people spend on entering, approving, and processing an invoice? The options are on the screen. We would appreciate if you could select a most appropriate answer from the options showing up on your screen.
So what we'll do is we'll wait a few minutes to see what the results are. So we would be curious as to how long it takes you folks to process accounts payable, because this question leads into sort of the next couple of slides as we start talking about AP automation. Erin, are the results coming in? Oh, there it is. Look at that.
So 27% think it's 3 minutes, 17% think 6 minutes, and 5% think it's 9 minutes, and 51% think it's over 9 minutes.
So over majority, right?
Right, over majority, yeah. So thank you for that feedback, and we will show you that most of you are right, because it usually takes anywhere from 9 to 24 minutes to go through the workflow of an invoice, enter everything first, find the invoices, assemble them. All of that is what accounts to 9 to 24 minutes. So if you have 100 invoices, which is a pretty fair amount of invoices for a mid-sized business, that's a lot of time which is spent on gathering and coding the invoices and assigning the right people. So in the previous releases, this AP automation function was in beta, and now it's generally available for everybody, all the businesses in the US. And it is one of the most important aspect of starting and closing the month is, have we accounted for all the AP bills? Have we accounted for all the information which is sitting in somebody else's mailbox, right? So usually that turns out to, like, typical close time. AP takes about 12% of the closing time. So what we are going to show you is with this bill automation, when it was in beta, clients have given Sage Intacct the feedback that they have saved as much as 50% of their time, which accounts to like 2 to 5 days per month for a SMB. And if you go to the mid-sized businesses, it actually adds up to more. So it is a huge time saving just to get all the information in one place within Sage Intacct. With that, I'll go to this slide, which talks about two pieces of the AP automation. First piece is the collecting, digitizing, entering information. That's on the left-hand side of the grid, which Sage Intacct has now enabled all their US customers to start using the solution if the clients are interested. So we'll talk to you about the left-hand side of the grid today. On the right-hand side, the payment automation part is already available in the previous releases. That's the payment processing piece of it. So if you have any questions regarding the payment automation, which is powered by CSI, we can definitely connect with you and talk about it. But the AP automation side of the piece here is going to be shown today, which I'll demonstrate by sending invoices into the platform. And it's going to show you how the budgetization happens live during the demo. And the most important part of this solution is everything is in Sage Intacct. So you're not working out of Sage Intacct. Whatever happens is happening in the platform itself. So there are no sync issues because you're not syncing to any other platform. This is the platform.
And Jitesh, just to be clear on the slide that we were just looking at, it is
Sure.
the digitalization that is the new release. The review and approval step has already, it's already available to everybody. It's actually part of the core, and there's no additional cost to leveraging that. It's just that the other piece here of digitalizing that information is what's new.
Right. Thank you. Why do we need it? AP automation, right? We want to accelerate the process from enter to close the month, right? Easily identify exceptions, and you really don't want that repetitive task of coding the same invoice again and again every month for the same GL account for the same period. So it definitely streamlines the AP process, and it gives you a solution where you're not logging into multiple systems. You are maximizing your time, and you're now going to save time. And the biggest question you want to ask yourself in your AP operations, what will you do with that saved time? So that is something important to discuss once you have this solution enabled. So like any other platform, when Sage Intacct tried to build this AP automation tool, they not only wanted to just have the OCR piece. What they are assembling is they want to make sure that they are getting validated documents from some of the vendors which you see on the screen. So there is a lot of AI, ML, machine learning, and artificial intelligence in the solution. And there will be services where there could be a trusted transfer of invoicing coming into the Sage Intacct solution. That is coming next. What that means is if you have an Amazon invoice, if you have a Microsoft invoice, you shouldn't be worried about is this invoice true or not, right? Is this coming from the right vendor, or is it somebody else sending the invoice to us? So they are building a globally shared directory which connects the organization, and any data which is passed on from these organizations to their customers, which is your Sage Intacct subscriptions, there will be a way to transfer that information and synthesize that information so you are not coding the same transaction again and again. So it adds that level of trust of how information is coming into the system. As time goes by, there will be more efficiencies once the whole platform starts using the AP solution. So the more clients start using the solution, the more smarter it'll get. And if Verizon changes the template of their invoicing, if there are 100 clients processing the same Verizon bill, at the end of the day, the Sage infrastructure will learn what changed. So a lot of people won't have to do the same changes, because at that point, after certain number of invoices processed in Sage Intacct, it will learn what to do for the next invoice. So by doing this, it is going to help all Sage Intacct clients to process data faster, in turn close the AP process faster, which ties into the start of the presentation, that it saves time for everybody.
Now, Jitesh, initially, when invoices come, people is going to have to code it, correct?
Correct. The first few times the invoice needs to be coded, but as soon as you start coding the invoice, after the solution has seen how you code those invoices, it'll learn how it was coded last time in the previous invoice, and then it'll automatically apply those combinations, like your GL account, your location, your grant, as documents get processed. So you don't have to do it for a long time, like the same steps again and again. So basically, it's an overview of how the journey of the bill happens, right? So on top is the Sage Digital Network, which I talked about. There's transaction history, there's vendor metadata, all the suppliers relation, all of that sits in, think of AI mind, right? That's what it is. It's sitting there, it's learning, and then you send in the documents through email or drop in the solution, and then it gets extracted. It learns how the extraction happens. It matches with the data with existing vendors which you have in the system, and it understands it. It's understanding how you interact with the bill, and it's remembering how it was the GL coding, how was it done, and then it stages it in the draft state within seconds of the bill sending. So the document dropped into the inbox all the way to draft bill. This all happens within a few seconds. To show you this, it could take less than a minute, but they are enhancing that speed as we speak today. And there's a continuous feedback of what's happening, right? So right off the gate, when this product was launched, it has accuracy of 95% within the first month. So it is important for people who are going to sign up. And if you are considering the solution, it is not something which has less accuracy and you're going to do things again and again. It is tested and it is improving on a daily basis. So with that, I'm going to show a demo of this bill getting uploaded. Can you see your Sage Intacct screen?
Yeah.
Great. So here's an example, the way you would access that. So the first thing is you would see, you would reach out to us and we will enable the function for you to get this functionality turned on. And there is a nominal fee for each invoice which gets charged starting October 1st. Anything which you do before October 1st, there is no fee for it. So you can try the solution. And if you, once the feature is enabled, once you turn it on, you would see there is a new section of bill automation setting. And what this automation setting does is it gives you the option of how invoices can be ingested in the system in two methods. One is the bill upload, the other one is the email service. So if you click on configure here, you'll see that the bill can be uploaded on the entity level, and it has all the entities listed here. And then there is another option is how you want to email the bills to the inbox. So every entity will have a unique email address. This is generated when the account is enabled for this function. Currently, you do not have the option to change this email address. This gets generated. This is the name of the subscription, Sage Intacct, and then that followed by the entity ID. So whatever name of the account is, and then the entity ID in this case is 100. So that is how @sagemail.com is generated.
And Jitesh, it looks like that it's once you turn this on, you're really turning it on for all of the entities. I mean, it doesn't look, you know, it's not like I want this vendor to have this, you know, auto, or I want to have this entity to have an auto integration, but then not this other entities, right? And so
Correct.
just wanted to mention that.
Thank you for that. And what this does is it at least at the initial stage, it allows you to test this solution. You do not, if you just want to test the solution, you can always have that email address and not share till you're satisfied with the results, what you are looking at. So that is our recommendation when you start. So once this is enabled, you can come to your builds section under AP, and the default view which you would see today is this. And what this does is it gives you all the statuses of all the builds in the queue, right? So what Sage Intacct has turned on is they have sped up a draft build status for you. And here you have the option to see only the builds which came through AP automation. So if you see an upload and refresh in your environment, once the function is enabled, right now you would just see draft builds, but you won't see this refresh and upload button or add button in that section today, if the function is not enabled as of yet. So here is where you would come in and you can upload a bill. So I'm going to take this as an example here, and I'm going to click on upload, and then I can browse the file and select the file here. So I'm just going to drop the file here it's a PDF which I just dropped in, and you have an option here. Do you want to extract all the details as a single line item or all lines? I have left it as a single line item because I want to show you how this works, and then we can definitely do a multi-line item as well.
Jitesh, I think we're trying to launch the polling question number 2.
Okay, great. This is perfect timing. Does your accounting software meet your AP and reporting needs today? So if you could just give us a yes or no answer, that would be great.
Again, we're going to wait just a few seconds here to see the results. Okay, so she's suggesting that we proceed.
Great. So here is where I have, while the poll was happening, the bill was uploaded here, and it's telling me the status is that somebody needs to review to resolve a matching vendor error found. So if we go into view, it'll give us the option to see what we just uploaded. And we can look at the attachment here. And it's going to show that's the item, although there were 2 line items, because I selected to have one item extracted, it did pick up the right dollar amount from the total. So that is how you would look at the bill. And if you want to edit it, then you can come here and edit. And what it was telling me is I don't have a matching because it's the first time we are doing this. So I just come in here, select Zoom, and I select an account. So you would just select that and then all the details. And what this does is it attaches the PDF of the bill to this, and it also gives you the option to update all the fields. So you're not taking an additional step from here to attach that bill before it gets for approval. At this point, you can draft that bill or you can post it. Once you post it, it goes to the right person who needs to approve. So it takes away that bill from this queue. So that is one way of processing the bill. So here are some of the examples where we had already sent the bill. We had already sent the bill in the inbox for demo purposes, and it's actually showing 2 line items here, and it's remembering how the bill was coded. So so you have the option to import the bill on the total level or at the multi-line level, and it's going to do that. So I'm going to do the same thing for one more bill to show everyone. So I would go to upload, and I'm going to say all lines here in this case, and I'm going to drop the FedEx bill here and create bill. And
while this is uploading, I think we got the results from.
Great. So 56%. Yeah. So it's a good mix of people. So what we would say is reach out to us, and we can definitely talk to you about what's not being met with today, what you're doing, and then we can enhance the utilization of your accounting software.
And I just also want to comment, when you were pulling up the invoice, you saw the image of the invoice to the right, whilst the data entry on the left. That is a setting that you have to turn on. It doesn't automatically do that.
Okay.
It's in the user preference. So in the user preference, you can just enable that, and that's how it would appear.
Right. So here you would see that it's analyzing. And once it finishes analyzing, it puts it in the draft state. Sometimes it takes less than a minute. So now you'll see that I just uploaded that and it's already here. And if I click on edit, it's telling me to resolve something. So I would come in here. As soon as you come into the edit mode, it tells you what needs to be changed. So here, I would like to show you that multi-line level is working from day one. So in this invoice, there were 2 line items, and those 2 line items were extracted with the right dollar amount here. So it is very important to convey this to whoever is considering this solution is, you have that option on every bill which is brought in, that do you want all the line items to be extracted or do you want only one line item? And that can be set when the solution is also configured. So here is where you would come in, and now you're just coding the bill and selecting the invoice, and you're selecting the terms, which would put the due date, and it'll allow you to put the correct GL account here and allow you to save it. And if you don't need an item, you can always delete that line and post the transaction and move to the next. So think of this as you're receiving AP inbox, which you can forward your emails as they are coming in your company AP box. So if you want to try out the solution, you would just forward those emails with the attachments to this email address, or you can drag and drop the attachments as well.
I guess a couple of comments to that is, once you post it, if you have workflow set up within the system, so you wouldn't be posting it, you would be submitting it for the workflow. And then once the invoice is fully approved, then you can, can be processed for payment. We have some questions here. So it says here, does the AP bill automation function also link up with the PO module, so there can be two-way matching?
Currently, the PO matching is not enabled in this AP automation tool. So if you have that enabled, you can use the solution in parallel to your PO function. So it won't match the POs. Right?
Yes, and it won't, if you have an invoice that is a PO invoice, that this process that we just showed, it wouldn't work on the PO side. So you would still, in the PO side, you would still need to convert your PO or your receiving to an invoice and then go from there. But if you're in the PO, most likely the invoice information is already there. So, you have at least a big part of that document is already there because it was part of the PO. And so you're really just converting what needs to be invoiced from the PO, and you can do partial conversion as needed. So you can, piecemeal that process. It says here, if a PO is approved in Sage Intacct, does the invoice then have to be approved if it is matched? So I believe the question is that if the if the PO is approved, the invoice, when you convert the PO to the invoice, you just convert it to invoice. There wouldn't be any additional approval needed. The thought is that you're starting from the requisition side. That requisition would have been approved. It would have been converted to a PO, and then the PO would have been converted to receiving, or it goes from PO directly to invoice. And then once it's invoiced, it gets sent over to accounts payable invoice for payment. So when it gets to accounts payable, it wouldn't go through the workflow again because it knows that it has already gone through the workflow on the PO side. And then the next question we have is, how about the reimbursable AP invoice? Would it be a way to create a related AR invoice?
Yeah, so this is purely an AP process. So if you have a set lines, a grid, which has a regular looking invoice, which is a reimbursable AP invoice, you can create out of that extraction, but that's about it. It won't automatically create an AR related AR invoice.
Yeah. Right. Those are the two questions we have.
Perfect. Thank you. So I would move forward to our presentation. So before we jump into that, we had this. So I want to show you one more function which I think would be great to show is in the vendor section. There is a new list interface turned on, and I would like to touch upon that. Between the AP automation and these two functions are the top most used, I think, would be the functions which all of you Sage users would like. So there is a new notification when you go to vendors today. This is only available on vendors today. Sage Intacct wants to show you what's coming in the future, but they want you to see the preview of what's coming. And here is an example where your traditional, before this beta function, you just had a static list. Now you have an option when you use this function to resize the columns how you want them. So if you wanted to look at the full address, you can now, right? This wasn't available before. And they have added a lot of flexibility in adding more columns, filtering it, and freezing it. So I'll show you an example of that. So I want to see here we have an option, anything which contains, I just know a few letters of the vendor. I don't even know how it's spelled. You can come in here and apply that filter. So that is a function which can be done on any of these columns. The other function, which is super helpful, I think, is you can freeze the columns the way you could do it in Excel. So I'll give you a demo of that. If I go in here, configure columns, and let's say I want vendor billing type, record number, and I'm just going to select a few options here to add more columns in this existing view. And it's important for you to realize that we are not creating a view here for all the Intacct users. We just added this column just by going into the settings. And now here I can come in and I can say freeze. So what this will do is, before in the old interface, you didn't have this option where you wanted to see the last two columns, the vendor ID and the name would not freeze. So you don't know which vendor you're looking at. So that is something which wasn't available before, and now you have that. And any column can be frozen, so you don't have to. So you would just unfreeze this column, and let's say you want to freeze, you want to keep their full address. So you can come in here and now freeze only that once you clear the filters. So it's super helpful to have the flexibility of making the columns shorter in width or larger in width. So that is possible now. And if you just want to try it and not use it yet, because it's a lot of new things showing up, you can always come back and turn off this. When you turn off, I'll show you what happens. But before that, Sage also appreciates if you have any feedback, which they haven't done here. They are looking for feedback, how they can improve the network. So they are listening to your suggestions. And once you click on turn off, it'll put you back to how the columns were. See, here you don't have that option and flexibility of changing the view without creating a whole different view. So I think that is one of the helpful features on the UI side of Sage Intacct.
The only comment I would just make on that is you should, if you can, try it out. Because you can't break anything, because the only thing that it is really doing is you're really just looking at data. And if it's not the data that you want, you can create that view, you can save it, you can recall it. And if it's not the view you want, you can always delete it. So you're not really changing anything within the data set itself.
Right. And they also enhanced trial balance report view where the opening balance has now a debit and credit column, as well as the closing. Before it was only one column. So I'm going to show you that, and that is like a snapshot of that report. So I'll go into the tool and also show you that very quickly. So if you go to your ledger, and the current view, which was already there, is right here. You would have the opening balance here, and then you have the closing, but now they have added, just with this checkbox here, it'll show you the debits and credit for the opening and closing as well. So as shown in that slide, now you have two separate columns here. So it adds more visibility on what's debit and what's credit here. And then there is also one more feature, which is adding the adjustments. So if there were adjustments added, and if you were paying the bills, and while you're paying the bills, now you have a separate field here, which is saying credit date range. So I'll show you a demo of a customer who has two credits added, and once we select the currency and apply the filters, you would see without the date range, it's picking up the whole credit. There are two separate credits which are attached to this vendor. So now if I filter, so you don't know which one it is. So now if I go in and just select the month of February, you'll see that credit amount changes to 200. So there was a $200 credit in the month of February. And now if I change it to March, apply, there is a $400 credit. So before you saw that 600 altogether lumped in, and here you can choose depending on which month you're looking for credits. So you can keep adding your credits, and you can either select February 1st to today, and then it'll show you the whole credit to apply. And then you just click on apply and click on apply credit, and it'll apply the whole credit for you. Before, this option wasn't available. In this release, they have the option to do this. And these adjustments were entered here. That was the vendor which I showed. And these were the two adjustments which were entered. So you have the flexibility to assign proper credits for whichever period they were.
And by default, there's no date in there. And so
Correct.
it's just going to pull everything that is there. So
Correct. Yep. So that was the next slide, which I talked about having that credit date range and selecting which credit you would like to apply.
and we have one more polling question. What is your AP solution that's used today, if any? So using the solution within your ERP, third-party solution. There are a lot of third-party AP automation that is in the marketplace, and many of those do integrate with Sage Intacct.
Okay.
Or no solution is being used today.
And there will always be more use cases depending on your organization, depending on your workflow, where different AP solutions still could be useful. So by no means we are saying that this is the end all be all for AP solution. This is one of the solutions which is within the system.
And just to comment on, what we had just showed, generally speaking, we find that the third-party AP automation tend to be a lot more robust than what is within the ERP, because the third-party AP solution, that's the purpose of that solution is for AP automation. That's the only thing it does. So it has a lot more functionality that's associated with it. And I would say that if you're not using a third party, this is a great way to try, Sage Intacct's automation. Also keep in mind that, we're a consulting firm, so we're not the publisher of Sage Intacct. And, this is release 1, right? This is their first release of the digitalization that we just showed in production, meaning it's not in beta, right? This is so, I generally, when it's the first release, there's usually some things that, there might be some hiccups, I'm trying to say. But overall, I think, Sage is heading that direction. We would see that there's just going to be more enhancement down the road for this, but I mean, if you weren't using anything, I think this is a great place to start. So I would love to see if we have any the results. That's great. Third party, not surprising. A majority of folks are on third party solutions, and then we've got 24 that are not using AP automation of any. So this is if you are on Sage Intacct, this is a great way to try, especially when it's free. So next slide.
Great.
So I guess this is my slide. So I want to just talk quickly about this the pre-built, the state, and then we're going to switch, and so I can show my screen. You have to stop sharing, Jitesh,
Yes.
in order for me to share. Thank you. So I'm just going to bring up, I'll just bring up Sage Intacct here. So, within Sage Intacct, there is a functionality for generate invoice. And what that is you can generate an invoice from the project module. So if you have cost in the project, you can build the project or you can build the grant. And so the new functionality is that, if you go to the Gen Invoice screen and you select the funder or the customer that you want to bill. So I'll just pull one here. And then I'll go and click on the pre-bill report. What they've added with this release is they've added a state. So you can see that there's a state here. So what pre-bill does is it gathers all the costs, and the cost could be coming in from accounts payable. It could be in from journal entries. So the state, if you have workflows turned on, the state will tell you if it was pending, if it was partially approved, it was approved, so that when you're doing the billing, sort of with regard to these costs, if they've been approved or not. So that's just an additional information for you. There is nothing you need to do to turn on the state. It's automatically there. If you want to use the Gen Invoice, you do have to turn that on, and you would turn that on within projects. You can go to configuration, and then in here, somewhere down here, there is billing that you enable. Here it is. So billing options. So you're gonna have to enable that. But once you enable that, you can basically do the Gen Invoice process. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So we just went ahead and showed the enhanced list view. Jitesh just showed that, and so I encourage everyone to try it if you haven't already tried this. It's really a great way to, I think, enhance the user experience with the solution. So a couple of things about the enhanced view that we just showed. It allows you to add, move, and resize column. It allows you to freeze column. You can filter it and save the view. You can sort it. You can customize it. You can save it and use it later. So everything, I think, pretty much a lot of the functionality that you were using before, you can definitely use it here and more. So we have our last polling question here. So you just take a minute to answer that. But in the meantime, we're going to continue. So we're coming to the end of our presentation. So just wanted to mention 3 upcoming events. Tomorrow, we have an event. This is actually an in-person seminar. How nonprofit organizations improve operational efficiencies through an ERP bank integration. So we have a partner, Citibank, that will be joining us to talk about the integrations that banking solutions have with ERP solution. It is tomorrow morning. It is in our DC office. That's 1899 L Street. And then later next month, we have, are you maximizing your ERP investments? We will be looking at how organizations can improve their usage or investment in their ERP solution. That's April the 20th. And then we do this on a quarterly basis, the releases. So we have the next release, the R2, which is going to be released in May. And the end of the May, we'll have the R2 release to go through the functionality of that. So this concludes our presentation. I wanted to thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Hopefully you got something out of it, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks so much. Thank you, Jitesh. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just to let everybody know, we will be providing a recording of this webinar to all attendees post-event, as well as a copy of the slides. excuse me, so you guys will have access to that shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.